Hi, my name is Samantha Silver. Welcome to my YouTube channel where I share my original prose and poetry. This poem is called Lady Sorrow, and it was written in March of 2020. Like you, I have lost many things in my life, such as buttons and faith and my keys, and money and time and faces and photos and things more important than these. And the things I've held on to have no use at all. An everyday scene has been better. A bowl with a chip, a book with a rip, a cozy, though buttonless, sweater. I've packed up my pastures to seek greener grass and collected this mountain of things, and the weight of it all has now pinned me in place, with all of the wonders it brings. And I call it my home, this arrangement of things, and pretend I intended to make it, bemoaning my garden and cursing the bricks, though I'd die before let someone take it. So imagine my shock upon seeing her face, so wan and grim, waxy and blighted, and perhaps you can feel some % of my hatred when sorrow showed up, uninvited. I've been warned many times about dear Lady Sorrow, the misfortune etched into her name. I've not seen her like, but when tragedy strikes, we all know full well who to blame. I watched her approach with a withering eye as she made her way up to my gate. Then she stopped in the murk of the mud of her skirt, as though she'd decided to wait. Now, the first thing to turn, I suppose, was the air. It seemed that the birds ceased to sing, which I will admit was tremendous relief to my long-throbbing, headachy thing. Then I noticed the damage, so small and so slight, and the scope of my charity waned. Because no garden grew, and the bricks went askew, and still Lady Sorrow remained. "Ignore her," said Joy. "She has nothing of use for your trimmings and trappings so fine. She seeks only death. She will leave you bereft of your precious and limited time." So I heeded my joy, and I locked myself in to keep out the chill of her reign. But the temperature dropped till my heart almost stopped, and still Lady Sorrow remained. "Dissect her," said Pride. "Root out every flaw, and exploit them until she is bent. Take back your control and impose your own toll, and prove your own power's extent." So I studied my foe and concocted my schemes. But all my attempts were in vain. I heaped all my hopes on the flames of her pyre, and still Lady Sorrow remained. "Mock her," said Fear, "for Sorrow's a fool, and one you can surely outwit. Throw a pie in her face, for it's well worth the waste to attend such a laughable fit." So I sowed my disgust and insisted the dust was a bargain, for all I had gained. The lies filled me less than the mold on my bread, but still Lady Sorrow remained. "Destroy her," said Anger, "this willowy tart, this intruder impugning your honor. Deny her appeal and unleash your steel and rain down your vengeance upon her." So I waged my great war, and I tore it all down, and I suffered my self-righteous pain. And the earth fell apart, and I broke my own heart, and still Lady Sorrow remained. She hadn't come closer in all of this time, nor flagged in pursuit of her prize. Just haunted the gate where she first stopped to wait, like a star that refuses to rise. It vexed me, this waiting, this challenge unmet. I crossed into madness, and then Love, who'd been patient for all of this time, finally said to me, "Listen." My mouth filled with bile, and it tasted of crow, the only bird willing to sing. So I stood to obey and went out to parley with that hated and hideous thing. And still, there she stood, at the line of my gate, inert as the ashes abound. But as I drew near, her visage became clear, and I saw that it sported a frown. The salt of her cheeks held the weight of a storm, and I drowned in the flood of her shores. Then, hollow, forlorn, with a voice full of thorns, she said, "I believe this is yours." I reached out without breath, so certain that death was about to fall into my palm, austere and unmoved, and then suddenly soothed by a potent and curious balm. A single blue button appeared in my hand, a memory sparking to life. I looked up to atone to find I was alone on the lawn of my self-imposed strife. I held close the button and walked back inside to scrounge up a needle and thread, and I unlocked a chest of useless old things, which now lived at the foot of my bed. And I pulled out a sweater, one button from perfect that I hadn't had good sense to toss. And I started to mend that beloved old friend which at one time was certain I'd lost. I pulled on the sweater and buttoned it tight as I pondered a life yet untold. And though I was broken and blighted and bitter, at least I was no longer cold.